2025, my year in review. 2025 ended up being a bit of a breakthrough year. It did not start that way. I tried to get too greedy at the start of the year, which then sidetracked the early part of the season before coming good at the end of the season. So the moral of the story is, don't get greedy and think you can do everything when you can't. Well, I couldn't this year. Maybe I can next year. Maybe wrong year. Maybe next year will be better. So I started off with 4 races in 2026. Ironman Hamburg, Ironman Bolton, Ironman Swansea and Challenge Almere. Challenge Almere is for GB, which gets me an extra week off work. So bank on your bottom dollar that I was doing that one. Ironman Hamburg is just crazy quick, so I thought, well, hey, give me a really quick time, stroke my ego. And then Ironman Bolton, Ironman Swansea, I thought would just be good fun races because they're relatively local. If I'm doing all this training, I want to get some races in. First mistake we made, preparing for Ironman Hamburg, realising the running is actually going quite well. Ooh, I'm running really fast for a really long way. I know what's a good idea. Let's do a marathon as well. Manchester Marathon rocks up. Ooh, that looks nice. Then I got a bit too carried away with the running and thought, ooh, I could do a sub 2:30, which meant a lot of the training that I was doing for Hamburg then pivoted to running, which then neglected the running and the cycling, or the cycling and the swimming, which came back to bite me in Hamburg. And now that would have been okay if Manchester Marathon went really well. It didn't. I had a bit of a problem with it. And I think a lot of the problem stems from inexperience more than anything. I just didn't fuel or eat enough. And this was the first race where you have to be in the pen an hour before the start of the race. And that's really quite odd. So generally you do a warm-up, go to the start line, 5-10 minutes, and you're off. Big star marathons, and I'm assuming other races, doesn't work like that. You do your warm-up, and then you stand like a lemon for an hour, ready for the gun to go. And I just got all of my timings wrong with my food, my fueling, and everything in between. Basically, what this did is I got to 12 miles, and I felt horrendous. My legs quite literally felt like they were being stabbed every time I took a step. And now I'm not one to be over dramatic, which went from being on 2:30 pace for the first half of the race, it then took a horrible turn, horrible positive split, and ended up running 2:35, which isn't a bad time, but isn't what I wanted, and it took a lot out of me. Generally, I can get away with recovering quite quickly. I did not recover quickly here. My legs took about 3 weeks to recover, which was then to the detriment of Ironman Hamburg, which was about 6 weeks after Manchester Marathon. Moving on to Ironman Hamburg, which was the original A goal for the season, but did take a bit of a battering after deciding to do Manchester Marathon first. I didn't quite take into account the amount of time it would take me to recover from the marathon, and cycling and swimming took a bit of a hit. So this wasn't my best result, which is why it was a slow start to the season. It wasn't helped by a few other things. I realised standing on the start line that my wetsuit had a lot of holes in it. If you ever try swimming with a wetsuit that floods with water, wouldn't recommend to a friend. But mostly because I did Manchester Marathon first, which just completely derailed Ironman Hamburg. So let this be a lesson to you kids. The swim wasn't my best swim, but wasn't a deal breaker. About 61 minutes, I think. The bike went not quite to plan because I hadn't been able to do the training on the bike, but also it's a pancake flat course and I had a very small front chain ring, which I thought would be okay, but was not okay. I couldn't run, quite simply. Every time I tried to eat something, I was just sick. So it was a fun day out because I got to see Laura Phillips and Kat Matthews tear chunks out of each other, but it didn't go to plan. So we started off with a bad race in Manchester and a bad race in Hamburg, but don't worry guys, gets better. Ironman Bolton. went quite well. It was a week after Hamburg, so I didn't really have any expectations, but seeing as I wasn't able to run in Hamburg and I didn't bike as well as I wanted to, I felt pretty good. Pretty fresh, as it turned out. A career best swim, boom! Followed by good power on the bike, actually. Wasn't super impressive, but the speed was there, which allowed me to then basically cycle through the field, and then the run went really quite well. So what should have happened in Hamburg showed that I was in actually quite good shape, but for whatever reason I wasn't able to put it into practice. But for Ironman Bolton, managed to win the age group, chase lots of people down on the bike and the run, which is a lot of fun, and walked away with a first place for my age group, 5th overall, and a slot for the 70.3 Worlds in Marbella. Although Ellie did give me a bit of an ultimatum, I had managed to get an entry into Valencia Marathon, and Ellie said, you can either do Valencia or Marbella. So after a lot of deliberating, I decided to do Marbella because that was before Valencia, and I thought maybe Ellie won't remember this conversation and we can go to Valencia after. That didn't happen, but that was the plan. Now after Bolton, we realised that I wasn't completely shit and expectations changed. So we had a bit of a break between Ironman Bolton and Ironman Swansea, which was the next race, where we decided to chase the win. By and large, went to plan. Good block of training, went quite well, and Ironman Swansea is now forever known as the one that got away. I had a solid swim for me. I had a lot of fun on the bike. I was going past loads of people, and the downhill parts were quite quick, so I was quite literally going, whee! Which would have made me laugh, and 9 times out of 10, that's half the battle. And then I got off the bike in seconds and then ran down, I think the person that was in front of me, within about 2k. So all was going to plan. I was going to win my first overall age, or I was going to take the overall age group win, Ironman Swansea. And then this is where it didn't quite go to plan. There was a pro race on at the same time, and I was having so much fun, running really quite well, that I was starting to overtake the pros. Granted, they were on their second lap, but they did start the very start of the swim much before me. However, I got excited about chasing down the pros, thinking, "Way, this is fun." Then I apparently, and I've not seen this myself, apparently there was a turnaround point which I didn't take. I was having so much fun chasing down the pros, I was just chasing after them, and I did not see the sign that said second lap this way. So I chased down all of the pros, got to the finish line and thought, oh shit, I've missed the turn. So then I had to run all the way back and do my second lap before going to the finish. So I ran about 4k further than everybody else, which cost me the overall win. But I do maintain they moved that turnaround point, or they hid it when I ran past, or there was some sort of sabotage there. Definitely not my fault for not following instructions. So for those playing along at home, we've had 2 bad races, 2 good races, and then that brings us on to Challenge Almere. Racing for GB, wahey! Get an extra week off work, wahey! Have to do Challenge Almere. So the race itself went quite well, apart from stomach issues reoccurring, which is a bit of a reoccurring theme which we do have to get on top of, but I don't know how to do it. So because I'm racing for GB, I get the championship start, so that's quite fun. But it means I just race against other people in that race, and swim went okay, relatively basic for me, I think about 60 minutes. First lap of the bike is quite fun, it's flat, you can go really fast. However, I went really fast over some speed bumps, which I did not see, and lost all of my bottles in the first 10k of the bike, which was a bit of a problem. But anyway, first lap of the bike was still quite fun. I still had enough carbs in me. I was going really fast. Second lap is when all of the other races join you on the bike course. And a lot of these bikes are on little bike lanes, and trying to overtake people on that is difficult / suicidal / not fun. Got off the bike in a second age group overall. This is when the lack of nutrition on the bike came back to bite me. I just didn't have any energy, or I ran out of energy. I ran solidly. I mean, 3-hour marathon at the end, so it wasn't too bad, but I was hoping for a little bit more and to take the overall age group win, but I ended up coming fourth, I think. Not a bad day out, and I won my age group. So I'm officially European long distance triathlon champion. It's a bit of a mouthful. We're working on something a bit more catchy. The final race of the season. Drum roll, please. Wasn't a very drum roll. The Ironman World Champs in Marbella. That was less successful than the first time I did that. After the good result in Bolton, good result in Swansea, and recently becoming European long distance triathlon champion, still need a shorter name, we had high hopes going into the World Champs. However, it did not go to plan. I didn't go to plan. The swim was standard. I did need to work on that swim over the winter, and the bike was where it all went to pot. Legs did not show up. Couldn't push any power up the hills, and then the run, nothing really to run for, but ended up 17th in my age group in the race, which when you were hoping for something a lot better was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow, but it was a really good mini holiday. Saw all of the heroes, so I saw all of my heroes, so it was a good trip. It just wasn't executed as well as I wanted, but I have already qualified for the Worlds next year, so it's a good learning experience and something hopefully I can take on next year.